Okay. Again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to ANC3C's October 2024 public meeting. We will get started this evening with the establishment of a quorum. So 3C08.
I'm here.
3C07.
Present.
Okay, 3C06, I do not see yet. 3C05 will be absent this evening. 3C04.
Present.
I am 3C03 and I am here. 3C02
Present.
and 3C01. I do not see. However, I do see that 3C06 has entered.
Hello.
Hello. Let me just pin you here. Okay. And thank you for joining, everyone. So we have established a quorum. There are at least 5 of us here. There are actually 6. I will verify that this meeting was properly noticed via the listservs, the CP Main Streets, Woodley Park Main Streets, CPCA, WPCA, our ANC3C notice list, Twitter, and the ANC3C website. So we will now move on to the approval of the agenda and the consent calendar. So I will move to approve the agenda and the consent calendar. Does anyone have any changes before I read off the items on the consent calendar? All right, hearing none, I will read the items on the consent calendar that would be approved with the approval of the agenda and the consent calendar. So the approval of the September 2024 meeting minutes. A letter in support of a stipulated license for ABCA Sidewalk Cafe endorsement for Nanny O'Brien's Irish Pub at 3319 Connecticut Avenue Northwest. A letter in support of a permanent license for ABCA Sidewalk Cafe endorsement for Nanny O'Brien's Irish Pub at 3319 Connecticut Avenue Northwest. A resolution in support of BZA case number 21125 special exemptions relief to replace an existing 1-story, 1-car garage with a new 2-story, 2-car garage and to widen the existing driveway and install a retaining wall. A resolution in support of HPA 24-481 at 3429 34th Street, a concept 2-story addition, a letter regarding additional Metrobus service for 6 months between the phase out of the DC Circulator and the implementation of the proposed 2025 Better Bus Network, a letter regarding ANC3C comments on continued failures with the Office of Unified Communications, OUC, and the district lacking a functioning 911/emergency response call center, a letter in support of a permanent license for ABC, a retailer Class C restaurant for Para-Eat DC at 2623 Connecticut Avenue Northwest, and a letter requesting that the council committees on housing, health, and facilities and family services hold a joint roundtable oversight hearing to discuss the tenant safety issues in apartment buildings along Connecticut Avenue. Is there a second on moving the agenda and the consent calendar?
Second.
All right. With that, all those in favor of approving the agenda and the items on the consent calendar, raise your hand or say aye. All right, I see all 6 hands up, so that passes 6-0. So if you are waiting to hear any of the items that I will not read again that were on the consent calendar, those have all been approved and will be transmitted to their respective places they belong. All right, moving on to announcements, starting with single member district reports. Do I have a Commissioner Prinzo?
Thank you, Chair Paggett. I just have 2 and a half quick ones. One, the Wardman construction people have sent around a notice today that they will be doing some early morning work starting on Wednesday. This is the last day they will be doing it. Work is allowed to start anytime after 4 a.m. So just be mindful of that. However, like the last 2 times they did it, they started closer to 6. Also on the Wardman, which is why this is a half, the Wardman is topping out in early November, and therefore the construction will move mostly indoors, and most associated sidewalk closures will reopen after that date. And then lastly, just if you all remember last December, former Miss District of Columbia Jude Mabonnet came before our ANC to talk about her heart health awareness bill for DC public school students. And I am elated to report that it finally passed the council after there was a mix-up on who needed to file a report. And it is headed to the mayor's desk for signature. If it is signed or returned unsigned, it will require DCPS to establish some sort of cardiac response plan for all athletes and or just regular students in the school.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else with a single member district to report this month? Commissioner Corson.
Thank you, Chair Pagets. Just a few points. I wanted to thank DDOT for their work in resurfacing Tilden Street, eastbound from Connecticut Ave down to Rock Creek Park, down towards Pierce Mill there. They resurfaced the southern part of the street. That's the eastbound lane, like I mentioned, and repainted the bike paths, and that stretch was particularly rough. Looking forward to them completing the work on the north side of the street heading west, but it looks great, and I've heard some positive things about that. I'd also like to thank the neighbors and residents of my SMD who have been reaching out about a loud mechanical noise coming from, seemingly coming from Tilden Hall, which is at the corner of Connecticut and Tilden. I've been in contact with a few residents, the mayor's office, now the council member's office, and through the mayor's office, the Department of Buildings, trying to figure out what this problem is. There's a loud noise that comes from the building, sounds like a car backfiring. It's usually in the evenings, and it's very loud and disruptive and has been concerning a lot of people. I personally don't know anyone who lives in Tilden Hall, but if anybody there has more information, I'd appreciate it if they could reach out. My attempts at contacting the building management company, which is UIP, have also failed. They have stonewalled me a couple times about this. So we're trying to figure out more information, but the problem persists. And finally, a constituent asked me to mention that the Cleveland Park Library now hosts new parent meetups about once a month. The next one is Friday, October 25th, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. That's where new parents with young kids can meet in the lower level conference room and with the kids and build some connections with other parents in the community. It's an initiative of our library and definitely worth supporting. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Nash.
Thanks very much. I wanted to mention a couple of things. First, twice in the last month, Councilmember Fruman has joined several commissioners and me in a walk along 34th Street from John Eaton School North. And that included Commissioner Siddiqui, I think Commissioner McCorston, the Chair Pagets and others. And then the second time about 10 days later with nearby residents and representatives from Mr. Fruman's office and John Eaton's school. In both cases focused along safety, about safety on 34th Street. This has been a longstanding focus. Over a year ago, the ANC sent a letter to the DDOT director requesting a study, but also requesting implementation of a number of fairly easy fixes, others more complicated, but still near and medium term solutions to address the problem in some cases of speeding cars or of car conflict at certain intersections, very narrow sidewalks in some cases with no tree box buffer where school children and others walk along. Councilmember Fruman is meeting with the DDOC director, I believe, in the next week now, and will focus in on our request, including some of the short-term measures to increase driver visibility and conflict at intersections, like removing surplus utility poles that are blocking sight lines, consideration given to raised crosswalks and other measures. And then, as I mentioned, the broader study to include how to improve safety for traffic crossing 34th Street, particularly at intersections north of John Eaton School. So we appreciate the focus, but DDOT's response is overdue, and we'll continue to push on this together with residents. The last thing I wanted to mention is that also in my SMD, St. Albans School is hoping to complete in coming months its work on addition to the chapel, and that will require some work on federal holidays, including Veterans Day upcoming. The contractor has promised to avoid any noisy work early in the morning because it is a holiday, although they're apparently past the phase where heavy work is involved, as well as noisy work. And again, most of the construction is taking place within the Cathedral Close, not on the periphery where people live. And that's
Great.
it.
Thank you. And I believe DDOT still owes us a notice of intent regarding making Little Street one way.
That's correct.
Yes. Another thing to mention is there is a notice of intent out from DDOT regarding the installation of no turn on red signals at intersections of Porter Street at Connecticut Avenue and Quebec Street. I know that was one that intersects a few SMDs, I believe, that was long requested that there be no turn on red, like period, no guessing of like what time of day it is or what day of the week it is. So that notice of intent is on the DDOT website that includes all of them, and comments are due on Wednesday, October 30th.
Right, and there's another NOI that is out there as well that affects the district, and that's due on November 7th, and it involves the installation of diplomatic parking on 36th Place Northwest outside the Kosovo Embassy, and DDOT is meeting with community representatives in a way, in a manner both to fulfill the order and also to mitigate some of the impacts. So I know they're hopeful that that will be addressed in a way that is satisfactory to all.
And I will see if I can post a link in the chat where you can find these NOIs, and you can search by 3C. And I know when we were reviewing the Kosovo Embassy project a while ago that everybody in that neighborhood has off-street parking. So it's interesting.
Not quite, but again, DDOT is willing to work with the community both to provide the spots to the Chancery, and in one case there are some spots reserved for individuals who are handicapped on the street, so they're trying to work all that.
Okay. Anyone else have a single member district report? I just want to thank everyone who participated in Sidewalk Palooza. And if you see things that you reported to 311 or that were clearly reported to 311 during the event, let me know, because there have been some where I'm getting notification that they're fulfilled, and others where neighbors are like, wow, that hole in the ground is gone now. Thank you. That I didn't get a notice that they had performed the work, but they clearly had. So again, I think it was great. I personally put in about 20 requests myself. And I know others were doing the same, and I appreciate the council member joining us for a pretty significant period of time along the way too. So good times had by all. And then as we all saw, we have 2 new residents of ANC3C 03. And the pandas are back, and look forward to that opening to the public, and you know, all the fun events surrounding that in January. So last call for SMD reports. Seeing and hearing none, we will move on to committee reports. So Swally is not, or Commissioner Siddiqui is not here for the safe, sustainable, and equitable transportation. So hopefully maybe there will be a meeting on that in November, but we did pass on the consent calendar, the resolution that was discussed about the additional Metrobus service. Does anyone else that participated in the committee meeting have anything they'd like to add at this time?
I just want to thank the member Adam Elkins who drafted that resolution, as well as we welcomed both Kay and Adam to the committee, or as Swale called us in an email, the Adams, because we were both responding when he said Adam. But I would like to thank him for his work on that, and congratulations on your first ANC resolution.
Great, thank you. All right, transparency. Oh, Mr. Kripke.
Sorry, hold on. Can you hear me? I just wanted to, in case people hadn't seen that the quarterly TSI traffic safety investigations priority list came out recently, and mostly didn't include anything in our ANC. There's one I think that did get included. Trying to find it as we're talking, but it's a bit disappointing that our ANC is getting so little attention from the DDOT traffic safety prioritization process, because we have some issues, but we're not really getting that much attention. But I will I'll try to write something and maybe put it on the agenda for the next transportation committee meeting.
Great, thank you. And I do believe DDOT will be updating us soon this fall, winter, regarding the Connecticut Avenue plan. That's in lieu of Concept C. So there should be, you know, announcements about meetings for the public to attend, to be informed on that. I know nothing other than that. Okay, transparency and public process.
We will not be having a meeting, nor do we have any update. I just want to mention that for the 6 of us or 5 of us that are here now, next month we will have our ANC annual report to vote on. So please look out in the coming, I would say, 3 or 4 days in your inbox for a draft of that. And if you would like anything included, please let me know.
Great, thank you. Community engagement and grants.
No update, no progress, or no activity on the committee.
Okay. Planning, zoning, housing, and economic development. We were hoping to get the Office of Planning to come to our meeting last month to discuss the future comp plan and future land use map plan. Unfortunately, they were unable to find somebody to attend last month, but are going to aim to have somebody attend if we're having a meeting in November. If we're having a meeting in November, I don't want to have it election night eve, which is the first Monday of the month. The following Monday is Veterans Day, so we would be aiming for Tuesday, November 12th to have a meeting. So more to come on that if we can firm up an agenda and get that on the calendars. We'll notice everybody as we normally do. Residential historic preservation.
Sure. So the Historic Preservation Committee met last month and, among other things, reviewed the concept edition for the extension on the 34th Street residence, which was the subject of the consent resolution this evening. I do anticipate the committee will need to meet again in November for at least one application. And we'll target that as well for Tuesday, November the 12th, to follow the Planning and Zoning Committee.
Cool. Thank you. Environmental justice.
Yes, I'd just like to mention that we haven't been having meetings this fall, but the committee members and I have been meeting, and we're working on strategy, a way to talk with some of the local businesses about recycling practices. The example we're using is single-use coffee cups that we've learned in our committee. We knew they can be recycled in DC, but we don't see it very often in practice. So we've been working on a survey to distribute with Cassandra's help to some of the local businesses, just to come into dialogue at this point and see if there's anything that we might be able to do to help improve that in our local businesses.
Great. Thank you. Public safety.
I'll start off, and I know that Commissioner Prinzo will have some topics that he wants to report in depth on. But the Public Safety Committee met last month, had a report from the 2nd District, and I would just add that for community members, would encourage you all to attend the Public Safety Committee meetings, because monthly, when we generally meet, we have an update from Captain Haskis and the lieutenants who are responsible for PSA 203 and 204, which are police service areas that encompass the neighborhoods within our ANC. They report on crime and measures to address it, and there's a good discussion. In this case, they reported that while crime is generally down year over year, of course, it's still elevated above pre-pandemic levels, but thefts in particular are up. And the police noted that with the switch to standard time upcoming, as well as the holiday period, it's a time of greater opportunity for theft. So residents are encouraged, one, to avoid leaving anything that appears of value in their parked motor vehicles, and with packages to take measures, including to use lockers at the 2nd District, because it is a time of heightened risk for that kind of theft. We credit some of the drop in other categories of crime to the focused efforts of the 2nd District, which we deeply appreciate, to add foot patrols in some of the Connecticut Avenue business areas and an increased presence. And we would like to see some more focus on the Wisconsin Avenue business districts as well. We also discussed at the last committee meeting the homicide of a child just north of our ANC, which is deeply concerning, and as well as the Office of Unified Communications letter, and I imagine that Commissioner Prinzo will want to speak to those.
Yeah, I will just quickly say the committee discussed a letter about the continued failures at the Office of Unified Communications. Almost said Advisory Neighborhood Commissions. Probably would have been the same. We discussed it in length. I'd also like to thank Commissioner Pagets for her leadership on just OUC issues in general. This is the 2nd time that the ANC has contacted council about failures in OUC. I had a constituent of mine who tried to get in touch with non-emergency services, but was also on hold for 27 minutes, which doesn't seem right. It's the 2nd time we've contacted them as an ANC, and it is actually also the 2nd time that a bunch of ANCs throughout the District of Columbia, representing all 8 wards, contacted the council, demanding some sort of action on getting the emergency response system to work properly. And then just quickly on the 2 homicides that occurred within the Connecticut Avenue corridor, we will have a letter or resolution forming in that committee that we will discuss in November. Just mainly sending to council some questions that the ANC would like asked of these agencies, and yeah.
Great, which is why we asked for the oversight hearing.
Yes.
And we have heard from council members that they are going to work to get that on the calendar by the end of the year, which is why we needed to pass that this evening, along with commissions 3-4G and 3F. So I was happy to have worked with the chairs on both of those commissions to come up with something quickly. So there's that. All right, moving on now to updates from the mayor's office first. However, I do not believe I see a representative from the mayor's office here. Does anyone else, if you're here from the mayor's office, if you could raise your virtual hand? All right, I don't see anyone, but I do see Lauren from the council member's office, if you want to go ahead.
Hi, thanks. You all referenced the NOIs. I was going to mention those as well. So if others of you just want to be notified of those when those come out, we do send them out in our newsletter every other week as well. And there are a few that were mentioned that are relevant to the area, and comments are still being accepted for those. As well, I think Commissioner Nash, you referenced the meeting that the council member is going to be having with Director Kirschbaum. And we do have a robust agenda for that meeting, of which 34th Street Reno are one of them, in addition to just the Connecticut Avenue question and timeline there. So I think we're also going to be seeking, because the latest information was that the Lowell conversion to one-way was going to occur this quarter, but of course, with no additional update on that, I would say that looks unlikely at this point, but have not heard anything definitive. So we will be pushing on some of that in the meetings next week. Sorry, Commissioner Nash, I saw that your mic came off. I didn't know if you had anything else to.
No, just wanted to thank you and the council member for your continued focus on this.
Yeah, no, it's I'm glad we were able to visit and hear from you all and observe the traffic, specifically those intersections that are a great concern for students going to and from school in particular. That I know was really helpful to the council member. He also really enjoyed attending the sidewalk palooza, so thank you for the invite to that. We do have this month's Workday in the Ward, and it's going to be up at Coffee Nature in Tenleytown, which is a bit away, but if anyone has availability or interest, we are there on site from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. I do want to remind you all that you should also feel comfortable just reaching out to the council member and asking for his time. So as commissioners, definitely don't feel like the Workday in the Ward is your only opportunity to interact with him or us for that matter, and the constituent services team. There's also a Department of Energy and Environment free e-waste collection. That's going to be on Calvert Street between 40th and 39th Place, just south of the Starter Rec Center. So I will post that information in the chat. And then let's not forget, in absence of the mayor's rep, I will mention leaf collection season is coming up. Last year was a lot more seamless than the year before, and they continue to refine their processes. So we are crossing our fingers for a smooth leaf collection season with minimal weather interruptions. And I will post that information. I do want to highlight the fact that for about 9 months now, DPW has had their own Unified Communications Center that they really encourage people to call as a first point of contact for any questions around 311 requests related to DPW, leaf collection, trash collection, or the like. They are empowered with a little bit more access to information than maybe they previously had. So DPW is really trying to get us to encourage constituents to use that. And so far we've heard good feedback. So that is really good. And then if you are not already signed up, please make sure to sign up for the council members newsletter. It comes out every other week and it summarizes the legislative efforts, votes, and other activities he's engaged in around the ward. Any questions? All right, I will post some information in the chat.
Great, thank you. And I actually can provide an update on the Lowell Street project that I forgot in
good.
my inbox. So the notice of intent regarding the conversion of Lowell Street between 34th and 32nd Place Northwest to do one-way westbound, the comments were due on May 31st, 2024. So the NOI was a while ago at this point. So Commissioner Siddiqui had asked DDOT for an update for this, and the conversion plans are complete, but they are still pending design from the design consultant as they had to renew the design contract. They apologize for the delay. It's slated for construction in this quarter's batch, fiscal year 25 Q1, which is October to December of 2024. So they're still working on the
I
contract.
heard like about 6 weeks ago as well. So I would
Yeah.
love if they're beyond that by this point. Yeah.
Once it's done, once the contract's done, the work order will be ready for construction, and they'll make sure this is the first thing they will complete.
All right. Awesome.
So that's what I have as of October 11th.
Fantastic. Okay. So we will look to see it happen. I know that is really strongly desired by parents and the school community. So we are excited about that happening.
Indeed. All right. Well, thank you. And it was lovely seeing the council member, and I didn't realize he took that photo of me that he was putting in the newsletter, but it was pretty funny. I appreciated it. Although I tweeted a good one of him too, so there's that. All right, I don't see anybody from agencies here. If you're here from an agency, if you could raise your hand. All right, seeing none, we will move on to community organizations. So Cassandra, I see you have your camera on. Did you want to give an update?
Yes, please. All right, we've got a lot of events coming up. Tomorrow night, Stitch and Sip at Paragon Tie, so you can come and knit or sew or crochet, whatever you want to do. The 24th, which is this Thursday, the night markets are coming back to the Cleveland Park Promenade, so that's between 5 to 9 p.m. On Saturday, this Saturday, October 26th, we have a Halloween themed bar crawl. So you don't have to wear a costume, but it would be more fun if you did, and then I won't feel so silly being the only one. But that's going to start at 6:30 at Nanny's. It's a fundraiser for the Main Street, but you can get tickets at the door. It's $20, and there are drink specials all night long. And since the next meeting isn't going to be until sort of mid-November, I just wanted to mention that the first Saturday, November 2nd, there's a litter pickup every month, plugging. 8 a.m. meet in front of GW Urgent Care. And then there's one on the third Saturday of the month at a more reasonable hour of the day at 3:30. So that would be November 16th. And then on the night of the next ANC meeting is a Tuesday Talks with Amanda Ripley, who is going to be talking about who survives when disaster strikes and why. So, and I'm going to send our website to Adam. If you could put it in the chat for me, I'd be grateful. And then you can also sign up for our newsletter. We only do it once a month, but all the information about events are on our website. So hope to see you. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right. Any other community organization updates? Raise virtual hand or just come on video. All right. Seeing none, we will move on to our next portion of the agenda, which is the community forum. Members of the public are invited to ask questions or raise concerns about issues that are not otherwise on the agenda, please limit your time to 1 or 2 minutes. If you want to raise your virtual hand or just pop on video so I can see you, that would be great. All right, going once. Going twice.
I'm having a trouble raising my hands. Am I missing it?
Okay, yeah, it's just at the reactions button, but you can go ahead.
Ah, okay. Hi, I will put this in the chat. My name is Thomas Hastings. I am fairly new community planning and liaison officer for Naval Sport Activity Washington, which includes the Naval Observatory. There are a lot of people working out of there doing a lot of stuff, and I'm still learning who's who on our side of the Navy, but my job is to go out into the community and liaison and work on planning and zoning and other things that could impact us and that we could impact the community. This is a very special site, like that I'm still learning. Like I said, I'm new to the job. I'm not new to DC, but yeah, I'm figuring everything out. But I will put my email in the chat, like I said, and I can be a point of contact for sure. Hopefully, maybe I can be the point of contact. I'm not sure. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that goes on there and a lot of stuff above and around me that I won't be probably a part of, but hopefully I can be most of the point of contact for everything that goes on there. So yeah, happy to be here, working with everyone. So yeah, please let me know if you need anything from the Navy or around that site. So
Great.
thanks.
Thank you so much for joining. We've not had one of these in all of the years that I've been on the commission and attending the meetings. So good to know that this is a thing that y'all are reaching out to us to.
Yeah, the job's been gapped like for a few different reasons, but the person was overseas and then they didn't get filled. And then, like I said, there's people that do some of this job for sure, but not to this level. And that it is important. And I'm happy to be attending hopefully most of these meetings. We'll see, but I'm always available. So please reach out.
Great. Awesome. I saw Commissioner Nash's hand go up and then Commissioner Kripke.
Certainly, and Mr. Hastings, thanks for joining the meeting, and look forward to hearing from you and working with you as things come up. The Naval Observatory grounds are in Commissioner Kripke's area, and then border the single member district that I represent. So goings on there are of particular interest to the residents, and particularly, well, we know that there are many people who go to work there, as you mentioned. But then there are construction projects from time to time as well, some of the major. So we do appreciate your staying in touch and helping us to engage with the community on these.
Great. Commissioner Kripke.
Yeah, I just want to echo that. Super appreciate you coming to our meeting, and hope to be in contact with you. The Naval Observatory sits in my district, but I've never really had a good point of contact before. So I appreciate you volunteering, and I will send you an email just so that we have a line of communication. There are occasions where I think it would be helpful to be in contact from our side or from yours from your side. This ANC Commission supported the historic district for the Naval Observatory grounds. So we've already been engaged a bit with the Naval Observatory in that regard, but I'm sure there's other things. And occasionally there's things like tree falls and accidents and so forth that that we'd love to be able to liaise with you all. So anyway, just thanks again for coming and being a contact.
Yeah, my pleasure. I know all of our sites are special, right? So our biggest site is the Washington Navy Yard, but we've got a few other ones around Washington, Carter Rock, NRL, Naval Observatory, Arlington, actually Suitland, and they're all special in their own way. But I think what gets lost is like that local connection, right? Because we have such big tenants that things aren't done at the local level like maybe they ought to be all the time. So yeah, like I said, I'm happy to be hopefully the single point that you guys need.
Great. Thank you. All right, anybody else for community forum? The raise hand feature is under the reactions button there at the bottom of your screen. All right. Hearing and seeing none. We will move on to commission business where we only have one item there, and it's the treasurer's report. So I'm gonna read out our the treasurer's report in Commissioner Siddiqui's absence. The ANC wrote a check in the amount of $150 to Waters Ward LLC for web hosting. The ANC wrote a check in the amount of $272.60 for friendship bracelet materials to Janelle Pagets. That's me. The ANC also received a check for $110.75 for unspent funds for the ANC grant given to the Cleveland Park and Woodley Park Village. And we will do budget voting next month upon Commissioner Siddiqui's return. With that, we've reached the final portion of our agenda, which is adjournment. So, is there a motion?
I'll motion to adjourn.
All right, I'll second. All those in favor? All right, thank you all and enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll see you next month. Bye-bye.